Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're going to be taking a look at this lecture by Neville Goddard. This guy was a mid-20th century spiritual teacher, and he had some really, really interesting thoughts.
Have you ever thought that your imagination could be like way more powerful than you realize?
Goddard had this idea that was pretty radical. It was basically like he was saying that imagination is the same thing as God in action.
Whoa, okay.
He said that imagining creates reality. And he wasn't just talking about small stuff, but like the entire universe.
So we aren't just talking about getting a parking spot here, right? Like
Right.
this is big time cosmic creation.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
what did he base this on?
Well, one of the things he talked about was this story in the book of Acts, where Paul is in Athens
Uh-huh.
and they have this altar there, dedicated to an unknown God.
Right.
And Goddard said that this unknown God is actually the imagination that's inside each of us. It's like this creative power that we don't even realize is there. That's pretty mind-blowing. We're all walking around with this God power inside of us, and we don't even know.
Yeah.
So what did he say was the key to like tapping into it?
So for Godard, it wasn't just about like visualizing what you want. It was about the feeling. He called it spiritual sensation.
Hmm.
It's like you already are the person you want to be. Like you're already experiencing the goal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you combine that with actually believing it, and that's when things start to change.
So it's not just a picture in your head. It's got to be like a real feeling in your body.
Yeah.
He also had that other analogy, right? The one about the potter.
Yes. It's from the book of Jeremiah. It's this idea that we can change our mental picture of ourselves and the world just like a potter molding clay.
Okay.
If you don't like the shape of something, you just remold it.
Mhm.
And that's what we can do with our thoughts and beliefs.
So we aren't stuck with the clay that we're given. We can actually change our reality.
That's a powerful idea. How did Goddard see this working in everyday life? He had this example that always stuck with me. It was about a woman who would be driving and she'd be criticizing this other driver.
Okay.
And then at the end, she'd say, God bless her.
So she knew about this creative power, but she
Okay.
was using it to focus on things she didn't like.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Why?
like this disconnect we have. We might understand how imagination works, but we don't actually use it in a good way.
Right.
Goddard talked a lot about pruning the imagination,
Okay.
which means getting rid of the negative thoughts that are going against what we want to create.
So like weeding out the bad stuff
Yeah.
so the good stuff can grow.
Mm.
We need to be gardeners for our own minds.
That's a great way to put it. Goddard's message was all about testing this out for yourself. Don't take his word for it, just see if it works.
So don't just think about it. Actually try it out.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so now that we have the basics, I'm curious about how this works practically. What are some things people can do to start using this power?
Well, so one technique he talked about was this idea of revision. So, like, imagine you could go back to something that happened in the past
Uh-huh.
and, like, change how it ended. You'd rewrite what happened in your mind so it's what you wanted.
So it's like mental time travel?
Kinda.
Going back and changing our memories?
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
That was Goddard's point. He said time isn't really a straight line like how we think about it. It's like
Wow.
it's all happening at the same time. So when you change a memory, you're changing your whole reality, even the present and future.
Okay, I got to think about that one for a
Yeah.
sec. But if we can do this, what's the point? Just so we feel better about the past.
It's more than that. Goddard saw it as like a way to fix old hurts and let go of beliefs that might be holding you back.
Hmm.
Like if you change the story in your mind, you change the whole energy around that event.
Right.
And that changes how it affects you today.
So it's not pretending bad stuff didn't happen, but seeing it differently, like in a way that makes you stronger.
Exactly. You become the author of your own life story. You edit and revise it until it shows the reality you want.
That's a powerful idea.
Yeah.
But before we go crazy rewriting our pasts, are there any like common mistakes people make when they first start working with their imagination this way?
One big one is trying to force things, like trying to control how things happen.
Ah.
Goddard was all about surrendering, trusting that like the universe knows the best way.
Okay, so instead of trying to control everything, you set the intention and let it go.
Right.
But isn't that hard for people? We're used to taking action and making things happen.
It is a different way of thinking for sure.
Yeah.
But Goddard believed that surrendering is the strongest form of action because you're lining yourself up with a bigger force.
So it's not being passive, but actively choosing to trust the process.
Yeah.
And I guess it's important to not get too attached to one specific outcome.
Yeah,
Like if we're laser focused on just one way for something to happen, we might miss out on other opportunities.
exactly. Getting attached creates resistance. It's like saying to the universe, it has to be this way, or I don't want it.
Right.
Godard was all about being open, like being open to getting your desires in ways you didn't even think of, sometimes even better than you could have imagined.
Yeah. This whole conversation is making me rethink imagination. It's not just daydreaming. It's like we're tapping into something really powerful.
That's what Godard was saying. We're all creators,
Yeah.
whether we know it or not.
Right.
Every thought, every feeling, every belief, it's all shaping our world.
It's a lot to think about,
Yeah,
but it's also pretty amazing. Like if we learn to use this the right way, we can really change our lives.
that's what's so exciting about it.
Yeah.
It's not magic or wishful thinking. It's understanding how creation works and using it in our lives.
So if someone's listening and thinking, okay, this sounds awesome, but where do I even start?
Hmm.
What's a good first step they can take?
It all starts with being aware. Start paying attention to what's going on in your mind. Like,
Oh.
what thoughts and feelings are always there? Are you stuck in these, negative cycles?
Okay.
Or are you focusing on the things you want?
It's like we were talking about before, being a gardener for our minds, right?
Yeah.
Noticing what we need to take care of. But what's next? Once we know what we're thinking, how do we actually change those thoughts?
That's where this spiritual sensation thing comes in. Godard was really serious about it not being enough to just think about what you want.
Mm.
You got to actually feel it, like it's already happening.
So if I want a new job, it's not just picturing myself in the new office, but actually feeling how exciting it is. Like feeling that sense of, I did it, that comes with having that job.
Exactly. You're stepping into the feeling of actually having what you want.
Okay.
And don't worry about how it'll happen at this point. Just practice feeling like you already have it.
It kind of sounds like acting, like taking on a role and really getting into it. But how do we know if we're doing it right? What does this spiritual sensation even feel like?
That's tough to explain. But it's often like this deep knowing, like you're sure that what you want is already yours. And there's this peace and happiness that comes with it, like you're in tune with your true self.
Like you're on a different wavelength, lining yourself up with the reality you want? It's a really cool idea, but it also sounds like it takes work.
Oh, for sure. It's like any skill. Getting good at using your imagination takes effort. You're basically teaching your mind to create from a place of feeling and believing, not from doubt and limits.
Well, if someone's listening and they want to try this, what's a good place to start?
Start small, pick something you want that feels doable, something that makes you feel happy and excited,
Yeah.
and then just spend a few minutes every day visualizing it and feeling like you already have it.
So being consistent is key.
Yeah,
It's not a one-time thing. It's about making it part of your life.
exactly. The more you do it, the more natural it feels. Eventually, you'll just naturally start thinking and feeling in ways that help you get what you want.
This deep dive into Neville Goddard has been really eye-opening. It's made us think differently about reality and how powerful our imaginations can be.
It reminds us that we aren't just watching our lives happen, we can actually create the reality we want.
So to everyone listening, we encourage you to check out these ideas for yourselves. Experiment with your imagination and see what happens. You might be surprised what you can create.
And remember, discovering yourself and creating your reality is a journey. Be curious, have fun, and let your imagination lead you to a life that you truly love.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep creating the reality you want to see.